You and I have conversed as this whole process has unfolded. It's been really difficult to keep the airline on track. Just talk me through how important today is.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be Virgin without the Atlantic, so we'll start there. And, you know, the US-UK corridor has been closed for UK nationals for 602 days. 60% of our capacity goes to the United States. We have a very thriving joint venture with Delta and Air France-KLM. And our story during the pandemic has been well documented, but to arrive here today is really a day of celebration. More importantly for our passengers, reuniting loved ones, we hear of stories, you know, grandchildren that have not seen their grandparents, families reuniting, and businesses converging. So for us, a really big day, a tipping point from survival onto the next 37 years.
We're going to see a joint takeoff, I understand, today.
Yeah,
you on runway 1, BA on runway 2.
Yeah, both flying A350s-1000s, the most efficient planes out there that would reduce CO2 emissions by 30 to 40% compared to a 747. 850 takeoff from London Heathrow to New York, and I bet that we will not be competing on who's going to arrive first. We'll be competing on who is the most efficient in terms of reducing fuel consumption and arriving on time.
They are, as you say, really fuel-efficient aircraft, the most fuel-efficient that you could probably get hold of right now. You've retired, as this process has unfolded, 747s, big four-engined, inefficient aircraft coming out of the market. What difference is that going to make in terms of economics as we see capacity coming back in, that we're flying smaller, more efficient aircraft? Well,
I'll start actually with sustainability. You know, this is COP26.
Yep.
And to have the youngest fleet in the sky as we do is really an important element. We've invested billions of pounds to ensure we have a fleet that reduces CO2. We've already reduced our CO2 from 2007 to 2019 by 20%, and we'll go further. Now, in terms of economics, yes, this is an important market. There have been some people who have not been, or airlines that have not survived this capacity. But, you know, this is a day of celebration, of competition as well. So as soon as we touch down in New York, game on.
Yep.
And that's to the benefit of consumers, businesses in the United Kingdom. It makes us stronger, both us and British Airways. And we've seen pent-up demand. So I would urge people to book now to get the good prices, because, you know, it's filling up very, very rapidly.
What do you think competition is going to look like? Do you think there is going to be a price war? As you say, the fares are available now. You're suggesting they may not be there for forever, but nevertheless, talk to me about what you think the competitive landscape is going to look like here.
Oh, so we've seen a bit of departures in this market, and this market has three very strong joint ventures that compete head-to-head daily to win the hearts and minds of consumers and businesses in the United Kingdom. So I don't see a difference in the competition. I think we've all focused on Heathrow as the major hub in the United Kingdom, connecting, of course, the US, New York, Los Angeles, and other locations. So I see this as a continuation of competition. We've been waiting for the day that we can compete strongly in the marketplace after such a long period of time where it's only been one directional traffic from the US to the UK, and now it's open, of course, to UK nationals.
You mentioned Heathrow. What about Gatwick?
Yeah, and you know, we made a very tough decision in March of last year to really focus our efforts at Heathrow. It's a hub airport. It allows us to connect more freely with other airlines and, of course, with our partners. We will return to Gatwick when we filled up the capacity here in Heathrow. We should be at full capacity in terms of the number of sectors and the number of seats versus 2019 by April 2022. And after that, when demand returns for leisure travel, we'll probably move a bit into Gatwick, but still maintain our focus on Heathrow.
Okay, you talk about demand returning for leisure travel. I imagine, as you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, that we're going to see VFR, visiting friends and family, a lot of pent-up demand. What about business travel? Like, that is where a lot of profitability comes from. When does that start to come back in a meaningful way?
Yeah, and it started. So I think our estimates is about 28% of the capacity right now is business capacity. Actually, first are the small to medium-sized enterprises. The large corporations are still kind of figuring out what they want to do. And we expect behavior to change. In our plans, we see a full return of the business traveler probably in 2023. It may be earlier. It's very hard to predict how behavior is going to be impacted. You know, the day trip to Brussels, the day trip to New York may not be on the agenda for everyone, but we see different patterns. People combining leisure and business, so taking a longer trip, attaching a weekend on the back of it, maybe coming in with family. But overall, there is no substitute to meeting face-to-face, to close a deal, to hug a person, to celebrate a birthday.
Okay, it's nice to see you face to face. We're not going to hug.
Not today.
Not today, but you are excited. You're certainly bouncing up and down. As you say, a hugely important day. It has been a huge challenge to get the airline to this point, to survive. There is a question about where financing comes sort of from here. There was talk of an IPO. Is there still talk of an IPO? Where are we?
Well, you can imagine I'm not going to announce it here on live TV, but I will say this. Our story of survival has been one of the best documented stories, testament to the resilience of our people who have really put everything they have to ensure that Virgin Atlantic arrives here today and is here for the next 37 days. We've survived, so we financed. Remember, in September of last year, we did a 1.5 billion pound restructuring, and since then have subsequently raised more capital. It's true that we owe money. It's true that we need to raise more money to ensure that our balance sheet is strong. Our balance sheet is strong and can survive whatever comes its way.
Yep.
But we have never actually commented on the speculation of an IPO, and we're not about to do that today.
Okay, we'll park that for now. We may come back to it. We'll see what happens. You talk about making sure that you're ready for whatever comes towards you. There are other challenges. You talk about the debt level. Interest rates may be going up. Fuel costs are certainly going up right now. Kind of talk to me about what you're having to deal with right now in terms of the additional headwinds that you're now facing.
Look, aviation has proven that it's extremely resilient. Who would have thought that we would be shut down between the UK and the US for over 600 days? Yet here we are, excited, celebrating the ability to help businesses and consumers and families unite. Look, the macroeconomic situation is challenging. Inflation high, fuel costs high, but pent-up demand is also very good. And being able to, have made tremendous and radical transformation of our cost base during the pandemic sets us in good stead for the next few years.
The conversation that I have day in, day out is about supply chains. The cost of freight rates super high, trying to get stuff around the world incredibly difficult. It has been probably the most pivotal factor in keeping the airline sector going during this downturn. If you can't fly passengers, you can fly cargo. How does the mix change as you start to reintroduce passengers to the airline?
Yeah, and the innovation and just the ingenuity of our team. In March 2020, they started immediately with cargo-only flights. By the way, using passenger planes and the belly capacity. Sometimes in service of the NHS, we put stuff on the seats themselves. But overall, it's in the belly, and that continues. It's true that there is a dislocation right now. The containers are in the wrong place. The demand is unpredictable, so there is need for air freight, which we provide. They live in harmony. Passengers in the cabin and cargo in the hold. And it's true that the prices that people are paying for air freight is significantly higher what they were paying in 2019. This year will be our record cargo year. We thought it was going to be 2020. It's actually going to be 2021. And every month keeps on showing that we can do more by virtue of selling cargo to customers who need it.